All right.
Second mic for anybody
Okay,
who wants.
cool, thanks. All right, welcome. So we like to start off the SeattleEVA meetings by having anybody who's here for the first time introduce themselves. And so if you're here for the first time or haven't been here in a long time, please stand up and introduce yourself and tell us who you are and if you have an EV.
My name is Jack Cross, and I have an EV. I have a Tesla Model 3, and I've been in the solar industry for a long time, working with batteries, and really just learn more about what you guys are doing and love EVs.
Cool.
Yeah.
What year is your Model 3?
It is a 2021.
And was that your first EV?
It is, yes. First
Cool.
EV, yeah. I got the bigger battery. I didn't get the super performance model, because I don't need to push the gas pedal down more than halfway anyway.
The accelerator pedal.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't call it a gas pedal anymore.
That's right. Yeah, that's wrong.
In the back.
I'll do an introduction. So I'm Pat. You guys know me, I think. Most people know me. I brought a friend from Detroit, Stuart Irwin. He's with Evolution EV Systems. Yeah. He has supplied all of our projects, all of our charger systems, and so.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so I've been in the industry since around '07. I remember going to these kind of meetings early on, was where the first excitement was in the industry in those days. It's been a lot of fun. And we focused on essentially EV charging, which has become one of the hardest things to do in the industry in a way, right? For customer satisfaction. We get to deal with Ford and GM and stuff since I'm in Detroit, mostly on EV charging things, and since we've been in it for quite a while, we've seen the early stuff to where we've got this beautiful collection of cars here now that's kind of extraordinary. So I can see a lot of you guys are from my same area, so we've all seen how this industry, relatively speaking, very rapidly changed. So it's exciting to be here. So good to be in the Seattle region. It's kind of really quite special for me.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I know we've been happy with the EDN chargers. Reliable. Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Lowe, past president of the SeattleEVA Association for 30-some years, and I've missed 3 free meetings, and I am sorry, but I'm still alive and I'm back. And thank you, Stephen. Stephen was the president after I stepped aside back, I don't know, 35 years ago.
not that many, but
2013, I think, wasn't it?
I think 100.
yeah.
135 years.
And you, sir?
My name's Brandon Davis. I make electric boats. Have 2 electric cars, Model S and a Leaf Plus. And my first EV was 25 years ago. It was a converted Suzuki Samurai
Ooh.
with lead acid batteries.
Yeah.
The batteries sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, I killed them like so quickly. It was terrible. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm really psyched to be here.
Cool. What year is your Model S?
It's a 2020 long range.
Okay, cool.
Forget about the Tesla. Ask about the boats. It's a boat show.
Is that your boat? That one? No.
This is Tim's.
That's Tim's.
That's Tim's boat. And then you'll be hearing from Jacob later. He's come to SeattleEVA before many years ago, and will be doing the presentation as well as Alex. But I guess if you guys share what EVs you have, if you have any EV other than the boat right now.
Yeah, I have a 2023 Model Y long range. Loving it. It's the car that we use for pretty much everything. Going to Salt Lake after this tomorrow. And take.
I have an older Leaf.
What year?
Oh, I think it's a 2014 maybe.
Nice. Pretty reliable for you?
Yeah, it's great.
Those Leafs, other than the battery degrading, those Leafs, that's been the most reliable car. Like I've done nothing other than tires and windshield washer fluid and plug in an old 2013 Leaf.
Yeah, they had the battery pack replaced.
Yeah, that's
So when we got it.
cool. Anybody else here for the first time? Nope. Well, now we're coming into winter. This will be our last meeting in the garage. Thanks. We're still looking if anybody has a good idea for a place, but thanks to Mark, we're going to try out a place at the old Rainier Brewery building later. Next month, we're going to be... Yeah, no beer, but at the brewery, at the old Rainier Brewery right next to I-5, so we'll be trying that. I think we're probably also going to have our holiday party at the University of Washington at Startup Hall. So we'll put information out on that. If you're not on our email list, you can come up and give our secretary your email address after at any time, or you can go to www.SeattleEVA.org and sign up for our Gmail list there. I've got the address for next month's meeting. We're going to be meeting over in Redmond at Juicer Energy. Thanks, Teresa, for making the introduction there. They make charging solutions, and they're going to host us at their warehouse over in Redmond. And so the address is 17625 Northeast 65th Street, Suite 130. And we'll be over there for next month's meeting, which is the 11th of November.
Armistice Day.
What's that?
Armistice Day.
It is, yeah, that's right. It's Veterans Day, huh? As far as a little bit of news, we had 11 vehicles at the Everett Community College National Drive Electric Month car show, but the organizers put it on a day where there was not students on campus, which is a huge disappointment. So we ended it early, and with the understanding that if they have it again, make sure that you have it on a day when the campus is really busy, because they had us right up in front. So that was kind of interesting, but we had a very wide variety of EVs there, and including, let's see. Come on, Windows. Including, we had the new Charger Daytona Stage 2 EV. So it's a fully electric muscle car, and it has a sound system to emulate exhaust with a very powerful subwoofer. I'm talking like it actually rumbles the ground, and if you stand behind it, you feel it pushing the air at you. I have to admit, it was actually quite convincing, and they have it idles, so but you can turn it off if you want to, or adjust the sound of it, dial it up and down. It was quite convincing. Got a lot of laughs and smiles. Overall, it was pretty well received. Also some eye rolls and stuff. But I thought it was actually pretty cool. It's quite convincing. It sounds like a big V8, and when it's idling, it doesn't even just idle completely perfectly. There's some variation to it. It was really interesting.
When they turned it off, it makes all these weird sounds as it's turning off.
Yeah, too. It's
so
like
it
they
sounds
really.
very realistic.
Does the hood shake?
Well, I don't know. It didn't really shake the hood, and then they got kind of an old classic Mopar Angry Bee on the emblem. Anyway, that was pretty interesting. It was one of the first times I'd seen that, and then Mark also brought his big Denali EV that he shared about last month, going all over the country on his 13,000-mile trip. We'll see if this plays. You can hear it. But this is the exhaust sound of it idling there. It has massive brakes too, like a lot of new vehicles, and it weighs over 5,000 pounds. It does legitimately run the quarter mile in the mid-11s, so it's a respectable thing, and I'd say it looked pretty cool, but I thought that was unique to see. And we like, it did have a back seat. Not sure how practical it was, but it's a two-door, and it did have a back seat. We like to have a featured EV of the month, and this month will be Tim Economou's little electric dinghy. And I figured while we got everyone sitting down here, we can have the other presentations happen, but then afterwards we can go over and take a look at it. But while we get Alex's presentation set up, Tim, if you want to tell people a little bit about the specs of your dinghy and how you converted it, what batteries it uses, etc. Go ahead, and I'll give you the microphone here.
All right, thanks a lot.
This one is Ryan's. Is this connected? This is the other microphone, so I'll have to give this one. And then, yeah, Alex, if you want to get your laptop set up here, we can close mine.
Did you catch how many charges were made before they canceled it?
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I don't think it's going over particularly well among the traditional Hemi crowd.
I'm just gonna stay right here if that's okay.
Yep.
If it reaches.
Yeah, you can just
You gotta clip this.
hold this. Oh, you can just hold it if you want. Either way, or we can clip it to your lapel.
Testing. All right. So it's, I mean, I'll take questions, but basically it is a Ariba off-center 12-foot dinghy. And I've never built a boat before. I don't know who here has. I basically decided to name it, POTO, which means put it on, take it off, because it's kind of what you do with a boat when you're building one. But the specs are, it's 12 feet long, like I said. It's got a beam of 5 feet 10 inches. It is made of marine Okami plywood. And it's fastened with epoxy and phosphor bronze screws. And it costs about $3K to build. And the designer said that it's a 200-hour job. Well, maybe if you buy the kit, with the CNC pre-cut pieces, and maybe if you built one before, but not even close to that. So the motor is a Hankai 2200 watt unit, so it makes about 5 horsepower. I guess equivalents, I call it. There's a whole bunch of numbers being tossed around right now, horsepower versus kilowatts. So your guess is good as mine. It's got 14 EVE cells. Those EVE cells with lithium iron phosphate cells are really amazing, guys. And it's got a BMS JK BMS. And yeah, charger's external. I kept it really simple, just wiring it up so you could turn a couple switches and make sure the battery's charged and you're ready to go. So it does have so the range. Everybody asks how long will it run. It will run up to about 5.5 miles per hour, and since it has a 12.5 kilowatt hour pack, it will run for about 8 hours at 30 amps. So that's not full throttle. That's about 4 miles an hour, or about 5 to 6 hours at full throttle. So yeah. So yeah.
Cool.
14 instead of 16. I love 14. It keeps you below 50 volts, super safe. It also fit in the box I built. So, yeah.
Make it harder to charge?
No. There's tons of bike chargers that are set up with 14S, 15S. You can program for whatever you want now. So 14S is a nice number. You look at 16 out in normal 16S, right? That's how they're sold. Look at 14S. It's got a really nice charge voltage and they fit in a really nice space. So, yeah.
Any other questions for Tim about it?
Yeah, how do you charge it? Is it got a 240 charger in it?
I just got a little Anderson connector. I made a little connector that came off the wiring harness and I
So
plug
it's
in.
110, yeah.
Yeah, 110
Fantastic.
in the garage.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, super simple.
And then it still has oars, I see, as
It's
well,
got
so
oars
it can
maybe,
be human powered
just
as well.
Just in case. Two sets. So who runs the other
So you caught any fish yet?
What's that? 2 sets.
All right. Here's the little lapel mic here.
Yeah, there you go.
And then we'll also get this one, which is going to our online people. Let's see
Oh, we have
here.
online people?
Yes, sometimes.
That's cool.
That's beaming out, and then you can put this in your pocket. All right. And so up next, we've got Alex Borton, who drove all the way down from Bellingham and has quite an impressive history making solar boats, which really warms my heart because, I mean, how cool is that? Imagine if we all were making our own fuel. How awesome that is. So take it away, Alex.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's me and Jacob Lampreys in Port Townsend, working on the electrical system of the newest, latest, greatest boat, which I'll tell you about. And then there's Brandon Davis over in the back, who's building the boat. But before we get to that boat, we're going to talk about this boat, which was when we went to Alaska to Glacier Bay on all solar power. We plug into any shore power once and all. So we're getting to that story. And then there's this boat, which is the new boat being built in Port Townsend. And there's going to be a bunch of backstory that I think is fun and interesting of all the little boats where we started. But first off, this is the part of the presentation that I usually give to boaters where I ask, does anyone have an electric car? And so I'm going to make a few assumptions there. But does anybody here have a boat?
Electric boat?
Okay, anyone have an electric boat? We got one, right? Anyone have solar panels on their house? No. Okay, so you guys know.
Heat pumps.
What's that?
Also heat pumps.
Heat pumps.
Heat pump, what a wonderful thing.
Heat pumps are great. We're going to have a heat pump on this boat. 48-volt heat pump. So a little background for us, Solar Sal Boats, we're a mom and pop company. It's literally me and my mom and my pop. We don't have any fancy investment. This is what they wanted to do with their retirement money, was build cool boats. And it all started, well, back in the 80s, this is what my dad did. He's done solar energy all his life. This is 300 square meters of mirror focusing on a hotspot with oil to make electricity through steam. And in the 80s, this was cheaper than photovoltaics, glass and steel. So he's got a background on this, and we had a passive solar house we built in the 80s in upstate New York that would heat up to 80 degrees inside when it was below zero outside, just in the sunshine. So, I said when we retired, he'd build boats. So this was the first boat in 2005, a 20-foot-old beat-up aluminum canoe with a trolling power motor and something else. And this boat on a lake in the Adirondacks in upstate New York was in operation about 10 summers. And people love this boat. It just worked. It was great.
Which lake specifically?
Indian Lake?
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You heard of Backlog Camp?
No.
Timberlake?
No.
Okay. This was the second boat. I like this slide because it's got the original Erie Canal, which this is the 200th anniversary this year of the Erie Canal, opened in 1825. The first boat worked so well, made this one. This is, we called, Dad liked to call it Serious Sun. This one we called Double Trouble, because there were two aluminum rowboats with the transoms riveted together, more solar panels, two trolling motors, and this thing was horrible. It did not work well, it was not efficient. It was a thing, lasted maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But it served its purpose, inspiring my dad to build a real boat. This is a 25-foot boat, cold-molded cedar strips, built in the garage himself. And this boat is still in operation on Indian Lake in the Adirondacks every summer. No maintenance other than a coat of paint and finishing the wood. Same system there, works fantastic year after year. That inspired the next bigger boat. This was the original Solar Sal. This one had Had some problems. You can see there's a little bit of shading going on with the design.
What's the beam on that?
This beam is about 10 feet, 10, 11 feet maybe. 40 feet long. It worked great. This one in 2015 made a trip up the Erie Canal from Albany to Buffalo and back for about 700 miles in October. So after the solstice, never plugged in. And where the story of our name, Solar Sal, there's an Erie Canal song. It's I've got a mule and her name is Sal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. So we're the Solar Sal, right? And there's the mule behind that being said there. So we're the solar mule boats. Like I said, that one had a few problems, mostly because it was built with child labor. And that inspired the next boat. Solaris was actually built by professional boat builders and designed by a professional marine architect. This boat is the first ever Coast Guard inspected boat. So if you're taking passengers for hire, the boat has to be inspected. And this is the first ever boat the Coast Guard certified that was all solar. And this one's been giving lighthouse tours on the Hudson River for the last 7 years, never plugged into shore power. Goes also on. It also
How big does it have a storage battery?
yeah, I don't know. It's got 32 8D lead acid batteries.
Yeah.
Because at the time, the
Wow.
Coast Guard wouldn't think about lithium at all. That's since changed. We built a little sibling for this boat. It was a 24-foot boat. Folks invested in molds building out of fiberglass. There are 3 of these made. There's one for sale in Bellingham. And if you catch me before the end of this month when I put it on the trailer, you can come up and take a ride on a solar boat. I mean that. And there she is, a sip of the Bellingham. So most of these boats you may have noticed were built East Coast. My folks are in upstate New York. I wanted one out here. I thought, we needed a solar boat here in Puget Sound. So there's a boat builder named Sam Devlin in Olympia who builds very nice wooden boats. So we commissioned this boat with him in 2019. The idea of this boat was, this is the one we took to Alaska. The idea was a lake boat, Lake Washington, go out, cocktails, picnics, a little cabin, maybe you do a weekend sleepover. That was the idea when we built this boat. And that was the reality. It was a great boat. We soon discovered that the strength of solar was for cruising, because you didn't have to stop, you didn't have to plug in, and you could go just mile after mile, day after day. So this boat had 1,700 watts of solar and 2,100 watt hours in the battery. People would always ask, well, how far does your boat go? Which with a solar boat is the wrong question, right? With any straight up electric car or vehicle, range is it. Like, you want to know what's the range. With us, this is if you throw the solar panels overboard. This was the range. But people would ask, well, do you have any backup power? Well, the sun rises every day. Thank you for laughing. Great. It's like we could go indefinitely. So that one, you're all familiar with the speed versus range curve. This is the graph, but you can see the speed and the range. The speed versus power curve. You all know 1,000 watts is about a hairdryer, right, which would move us at 4.5 knots, which isn't, it's respectable. And of course, you want to double the speed, you double the power, you get an extra knot, you double the power again to get just a little bit more.
So it's a displacement flow instead of a plane flow.
Yes. And all of our boats, except the new one, have been displacement boats. And they've all been designed around this sweet spot here on a clear day to go 5 knots without drawing off the batteries. And with a displacement hull and you size it all right, that's no problem, and that's what we've been doing since 2012.
Have you thought about a catamaran to improve your speed ratio? Because long and narrow is in the water will get you a whole lot further.
It will,
At a higher speed.
after a certain speed, it will. At about that speed, it's not that much different than a displacement hull. You've got to be going faster to get that advantage. The thing a catamaran will do is there's a lot more area for solar panels. So there are a couple of other catamarans, and Jacob will talk about one that are all solar catamarans. They're also more expensive to build because you build two hulls and then you got to connect them. And you have more wetted surface in the catamaran.
But your waterline length to beam determines your net speed for a sailboat, which would be the same for an electric boat.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, Brandon?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big multi-hull guy, but this one, if you're going below displacement speeds, you're not up against like wave making drag. It's mostly wetted surface area drag, so just frictional drag. So if you're in those speed realms, the monohull really makes sense because it's the most efficient way to get displacement with the least amount of wetted surface area. But if you're trying to push up above that, like 10, 12, 20 knots, then that's where the multi-hulls really come in their own because they're still in displacement, and yeah, they don't have that displacement speed limit that most monohulls do.
There was a boat builder in Bellingham that built a 70-foot catamaran at a 25-knot hull under sail, which is pretty quick for a sailboat.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, so again, with solar, when we went to Alaska, it was cloudy most of the time. And
kind of like Washington.
well, in the summer in Washington, it's pretty darn nice for a few months.
For a few months,
yeah. But we had a handful of sunny days in a month and a half up there. And we could still go between 2 and 4 knots through the overcast. So we were not fast, but we never plugged in. We could have plugged in and gone faster, but we wanted to prove a point. We're doing all
just for those who aren't told what the narrator geeks, what's the conversion from knots to miles per hour? It's about 1.2, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, so a little more.
So 5 knots is what?
Like 6 or 7 miles an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nautical mile is 800 feet longer than a station.
The nautical mile is 1 minute of latitude.
It's a happy player. Yeah. I appreciate
It's the useful part. So now I've just got some pretty pictures of Alaska. Anyone ever boated up to Alaska? Okay, gorgeous. So this was outside of Tweeter. It was pretty. Here's one of the sunny days. The camera came out on the sunny days.
Well, and you're doing this during COVID, right? So literally you couldn't stop in Canada.
That's cool.
Yes.
How fast can a grizzly bear swim?
That's a good question. We didn't clock them. Cool thing on electric, right? It's quiet. So we're in Glacier Bay, and we could hear the humpback whales. I would hear them and look around, and there was one time I counted 12 of the spouts that we could see at the same time.
Settling on an electric launch sounds like a case of convergent evolution. Didn't you start in Elko's backyard? And they've been building similar boats for over 100 years.
Yeah.
Why'd you decide to do your own instead of, why build not bought?
For Elko? Elko's boats?
Elko builds motors, not boats. They built the classic launches still, don't they?
They used to.
They used to.
Okay, yeah.
They took a like 70-80-year break in there.
Yeah.
They do build lots of motors. So it was very pretty. There we are. We had a gorgeous day when we got up to the glacier. And there's the sunset picture on the last picture. Now the cool, moving into this boat. So we talked about displacement speeds. There are so many cool things about this one that's under construction now at Brandon Shop up in Fort Townsend. This one we're building to beat displacement speeds. So it's a semi-displacement hull. Because a lot of people who have trawlers, cruising boats like to go at 7 or 8 knots. And so 5 knots might be just a little bit slow, so we wanted to compete with that market and to do anything a diesel trawler can do, only better because we're electric. So that was our mission with this boat, and we think we're going to do it. Jacob will be telling you about the systems and how we're going to do that. There's the boat itself. It's going to be about 3,800 watts on the roof. Typical layout, we've got a head and a settee, planette, earth down there, rolled it up, sleeping 7. Little valley. And there's the target. The specs were still and I was going to talk about that. So one of the cool things is in order to beat displacement speeds, we're semi-planing, so we want it to be super light, and that makes a difference. We'll pass it around. This is the sample of the hull.
What it's made of.
Very light. So it's made of, the core is foam, and it's made of basalt. So you've heard of fiberglass and you've heard of carbon fiber. So this is made out of rocks. And it's just like fiberglass, which is made out of sand. The same thing, you heat it up and you make a fiber and you weave it into a cloth. And
So what's the relative strength of that new glass?
Great question.
What you should have.
yeah, so it's more than
So it's
fiberglass.
the fiber that's the result of
Yes.
the resin.
Resin's epoxy.
But they made it into a fabric.
Huh.
So the tool, there's what the basalt looks like. This was several months ago, but I like this picture because it shows the grid underneath the tool. So basalt has a much lower carbon footprint than even fiberglass. And carbon fiber, as you may know, while it's lighter and stronger, has a super duper high carbon footprint. So with our boat, if you look at the life cycle costs, if you have a traditional diesel trawler, the yellow line is the carbon footprint of making a boat. The green is carbon footprint of operating the boat over 20 years. And with our boat, if we take our 3,800 watts and plug it in, meter it at the meter, when we're not out on the boat, which is most of the time, of course, we're carbon neutral in less than 20 years. It's probably the first ever boat that will be carbon neutral. And the basalt is one of the reasons for that, besides the lightweight and carbon footprint. There's more of this life cycle analysis, data, and there's an article in Professional Boat Builder.
With Brandon.
And Brandon can tell you a lot more about that if you have questions on the life cycle analysis of boats. And before we get into all the technical, there's Brandon on the boat. This was just this last week. Got the floors in, systems going in the hatches. There's Joseph, who's building the boat there.
We built it.
No, Fort Townsend.
Single screw.
Single screw.
Alex, what's the cost difference between the different fibers?
The salt is a little bit more than fiberglass, although if it was mass produced, it'd be less because it takes less energy actually to make the basalt.
Okay.
And definitely less than carbon fiber, I believe. Is that true?
Yeah, for sure.
Jacob's going to go through all the technical stuff here. Any questions so far about any of the boats?
So to make the curves, you didn't buy pre-made panels, you made your own panels?
Yeah, it was in a mold. And it made a really cool mold.
Are you creating a market for this boat, for these boats that you make? Because I don't really see a huge market, but it looks like an innovative product that's creating its own market.
We hope so. We hope to create a market. We've been asking ourselves, we would like to sell boats and affiliate the world with boats. Over the last decade, we did sell Wayward Sun this spring, and we sold a few other boats that not a lot. We think that this one is going to hit a sweet spot with boaters who don't want to sacrifice any kind of performance on the water, but want a better experience, just like you all know with electric cars.
And that one was 38?
34.
34. And at 10 feet something wide, it's not really trailerable, is it?
It's not trailerable in the sense that you keep it in your driveway and launch it for the weekend and put it back. You can put it on a trailer with a 10-foot width. It's a relatively inexpensive and easy to obtain oversized permit. So you can put it on a trailer and move it places for sure. We're just not calling it trailerable because then you might think of this boat here, which is trailerable.
So against that benchmark diesel trawler, how's initial procurement costs compare?
Probably about 1.5 months.
Okay. So that's a typical alt-energy equation. Expensive to buy, cheap to run.
Yes.
But not ridiculous.
We hope not. Yeah. Yeah, no clothes dryers. We do have hot water, which will take the heat from the motor and also has an electric element, 48-volt heat pump, and it's got a shower in it. It's an electric induction cook stove, and a little oven, air fryer, microwave thing.
So mostly your batteries are used at night to cook your food.
Pretty much. Yep.
Lighting and food.
Cool. Somebody hand this on,
Have you guys installed this or considered installing like a small portable fold-up fast wind turbine so like charge?
Oh yeah, and then let's see, there's a second one too.
Wind turbine.
There's one more as well. This one goes to the online folks. There's some.
Oh, there's online.
Yeah,
folks.
we got two.
Wow. All right. Hello to all our remote viewers.
Yeah. All right.
If you're in a remote area charging at night, you might not be able to get people kilowatt hours that way, especially if the weather situation.
What was your name?
My name's Alex.
Alex Steven. Good to meet you.
You don't have as much solar. I'm not thinking of using it on the go. That might be silly, but
So to make that one,
Yeah, it's something easily you can do.
to make that one slippery, is the bottom flat?
It's yeah, it's got more of a flat bottom. Yeah.
All right, we're going to talk some more about some of the technical stuff. I'm sure you guys will have lots of questions. Hopefully we get through some of them. So solar, first question, solar. Did you bring a solar sample? Is that sitting down here? So a big part of making the boat get the performance that we want is keeping it lightweight. And so the solar cells, solar panels on this are going to be all custom carbon fiber cells made by Open Water Solar. They've got essentially the efficiency and lifespan and nearly the rigidity of a rigid solar panel, but with the same or less weight than most flexible solar panels. And so I can pass this around. This is an actual solar panel from Open Water Solar. It just doesn't have the leads on it. But yeah, check it out. There's definitely a bit of a cost premium, but for something like this where we need the lightweight and we need the efficiency, it's definitely worth it.
How many watts approximately for that?
I don't know in that particular one.
How many volts are they?
Form them as a volt, do they have a shape?
I believe so. Open Water Solar's website has a whole bunch of cool videos on how they do it and what they do, and I haven't watched them in a couple months, so
That's not.
How's the durability?
It's supposed to match rigid panels, with the exception that after like 10 years you have to add another top layer of clear coat, basically. You can when they're supported, right. And so what they can do, depending on how you're planning on supporting them, they will manufacture the carbon fiber thickness and honeycomb and whatnot to make it as structural as you want. We're going to have an actual basalt fiber roof that they're going on, so they're going to be thin for us. That's my understanding, right? Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong on it. You're the expert on that. Alright, so speaking of having a lightweight boat working for solar electric, the metric that has kind of hit home is the watts per displacement. And for people who aren't boat owners, displacement is just our fancy word for weight. And so how much power can you generate per weight? And so Alex showed a picture of his Solar Cell 24, which you can see is here. Electric Philosophy, this boat was another Sam Devlin built boat, and it's gone to Alaska 4 times now, I think. They've done over 3,000 nautical miles.
12,000.
Over 12,000 nautical miles, never plugged in once, just an inside passage monster. And you can see that we're going to be like double its watts per displacement. And so, pretty great. And then if you want to look at a really, really fancy, expensive comparison, if you look at Silent Yacht 60, that's a multi-million-dollar 60-foot yacht right there. And it's a really cool boat. I love that it has all the solar, but in terms of actually going somewhere, it's basically just a series of hybrid. They've got to run a generator if they're going to go more than a couple miles because they built such a heavy boat. So that's really cool. I don't want to say that's not awesome, but for the goal of having a solar electric boat, weight is key, and having a big footprint for solar panels is key, and that's the priority for this boat. And batteries, this is what everybody has, or most people who read the email from Stephen have been excited about so far, solid state batteries. So here's one, you can come and look at it, pet it, and, touch it, just don't short it out on anything, it's a real live battery. So this is a 24-volt version of the solid state marine batteries. I don't think we need to pass it around, but it'll be up here if people want to come look at it. My boss doesn't want that one back, so.
How many watt hours?
So that is 3 points.
It's not light.
It's around 30-ish pounds. On the other side it says how many watt hours that one is, and it's like 3,780 watts.
24 volts, 150 amp hours. Yeah, 3780 watt hours. So 3.7 kilowatt hours, 24 volts.
So this is the 24-volt version. This boat's going to be using the 48-volt version, which is the next slide. It's lighter and better. But before we get there, the marine world in general has gone to lithium iron phosphate batteries because of the lifespan and the safety. Boats and fire really don't mix, and so people like lithium iron phosphate for boats. But these have a solid state separator, which I'll talk about more on the next slide. So using lithium NMC on boats has been touch and go until now, we think. A note on the marketing, there is still a low temperature cutoff on their spec sheet, so we're thinking there's potentially some liquid in there that might have a freezing thing. Anyways, yeah, it's supposed to have essentially the lifespan of LFP, and Oh, it's just a picture of the battery that we're trying to tap.
No electrolyte.
It's a solid state separator, no liquid electrolytes, but they say, I assume there must be some liquid in there a little bit, is why they have the low temperature cutoff.
Semi-solid state.
Yeah, I think it might be semi-solid state. And so,
What are the advantages of those batteries over crystalline?
that's great. I bet you should ask that, actually. So, here's the 48 volt version, energy density, gravimetric energy density, which for us is what we care about. Here's the latest Tesla 2170 pack energy density, not cell, but pack. So this is a module, one of these modules versus the whole Tesla pack. So
What?
exactly apples to apples, but that's what we got. And here's, the Dakota lithium makes some of the most energy dense lithium ion modules that you can buy, and their best is still like just a little bit better than half as energy dense. And then obviously lead. We talked about how lead is not great. So these cells seem to have a lot of pros. They seem to have the same lifespan and better safety than LFP, but better energy density than all our Teslas, which sounds pretty great. And this is actually our 4th boat that we're putting these on, and so far the other 3 seem to be doing what's promised, so that's pretty good. One question that a lot of people usually have is, why is this not in my car yet? And I haven't got an official press release from Solid State Marine. It was an East Coast-based company, by the way. But looking at their spec sheet, I think it's probably a power density thing. These modules can put out a continuous 1C rate. So if you have a 100 amp hour battery, they can put out a continuous 100 amps. A peak of like 2C, which, like Charlie's got his little BMW over there when you floor it. How many C's are you pulling? 3, 4?
I don't know the specs. It's a Nissan Leaf pack, so whatever the Nissan is. But it's more than 2.
More than 2. So that's my suspicion, is that it's a power density thing. But yeah. Okay, and another thing that might raise some tail feathers is we're not doing any battery temperature management. And so the reason is that we're not going to be working these batteries very hard. It's a boat. We're going to be going slow. It's going to be sitting on the hull in the water. So it's going to be 50 to 60 degrees in the Puget Sound all the time. And we're only ever going to run it at 0.3 C. It's going to be a 70 kilowatt hour pack. We're going to have a 30 kilowatt peak motor. And these batteries, I stole this chart from MG, who makes LFP batteries. They have a really nice chart regarding heating over a charge discharge cycle. But our Solid State Marine's internal resistance is half of the MG LFPs. So over one charge discharge cycle, running at 1/2 C, we're still barely gaining like 5 degrees over one whole charge and discharge cycle. So we're just really not worried about the heating. Which brings us to the motor, which is liquid cooled. So we're using an Ocean Bolt drivetrain. Ocean Bolt is just sort of a premium, well-known electric motor brand for boats. This particular motor is actually going to be 2 motors in series. As you can see, it's 2 12 kilowatt motors put into a single shaft there. And the reason we're going with a 48 volt system in this case, I know it's really low voltage for many of you guys who've converted EVs. The marine world is really, the OEMs have really standardized around 48 volts. They're really, really hooked on the safety of it. And that's where a lot of the components are starting being made. You can get other things like our heat pumps that are in 48 volts. And you can get gyro stabilizers that are in 48 volts. So it's really where the market is right now. And it's enough for what we're doing. We don't need that much power. So it works great. One interesting thing that Brand's designed into the boat is that it's going to have keel coolers to cool, so it'll have a heat exchanger, and the keel coolers are the heat exchanger, so the glycol mixture that goes through the motor and inverters goes through the keel coolers to cool off rather than exchanging salt water in and out of the boat, and so we just have less ways of getting salt water into our people tank, which is a good thing.
What's the RPM of those motors?
They max out, the prop speed maxes out at like 1200 RPM. I think it's like a 1.5 or 1.3 reduction ratio. So it's pretty slow. They've actually manufactured them to be slow spinning, which is actually a unique feature to the marine world, because typically like automotive, you want a faster spinning system.
So is the gear ratio in the motors or in the gearbox that drives the prop?
So these are direct drive, so it's in the motor. The motor, there's no reduction gear for this one. It is really common for a lot of other manufacturers, like if you buy an Elko, we talked about Elko earlier, they've got a little reduction gear or a belt drive off the end, typically, that give you that reduction. But these motors are actually wound to provide that speed.
Are they axial pumps?
No, they're permanent magnet reluctance. They used to all be induction and they switched to permanent reluctance. Because they're actually like 1 or 2% efficiency. You're looking at me like I'm saying something wrong. Am I missing something? Alright, just checking. Okay, so power speed. That's much better. Thank you.
So, I understand, now that I think about it, I understand that some sailboats that have electric power assist can also actually regenerate through the propeller.
Yes.
Is there any kind of capability like that with these boats?
So
Again, if you're moored or something, and there's a current, you could be charging that way.
That motor system is capable of doing regen. The amount of times that boat is going to be anchored somewhere where you have like a 6 knot plus current, because you need 5 to 6 knots of speed to really get enough. It's not something super practical for that boat. But that engine system is able to do it. And that's actually what's made Ocean Boat in particular really famous, because their sail drive units have adjustable props. And so they're the king of regen. So like high dollar electric sailboats are going with Ocean Bolt sail drives because they can adjust that prop pitch when they're under sail to get the max regen. Alright, so Alex talked about power over speed earlier. Here we are again. You can see, if you want to go twice the speed, you need far more power. And so the sweet spot's really kind of down here when we're in like hairdryer, microwave kind of regions. What that translates to in an ideal case, what do I have here? So with basically only house loads on and no sun, at 6 knots you get just under 200 miles of range, which is pretty good. And if the sun comes out, you get almost 300 miles of range. So for motoring on Puget Sound, that's phenomenal because everything's like 15 to 20 miles apart. So even without any sun, you could go for like a week in total darkness around the Puget Sound and still use the induction stove and do all the things. It's not always ideal. So in more of a worst case scenario, I guess I have a laser pointer, I can use this. If there's a 2 knot current against you and you have all of the HVAC and house loads on and you've got a seakeeper gyro stabilizer stabilizing the boat, at 6 knots, you've still got like 100 miles of range, which is very usable. And then if the sun comes out in the summer, you've got like 150. And obviously, if you go faster, that diminishes very quickly, and the less impact your solar has because you're just burning so many kilowatts to move the boat faster. Charging. Obviously, the plan is for most of the charging to be from solar, if not all of the charging. We all want to be like electric philosophy and never plug in. But some boat owners might want to go 10 knots everywhere and just plug in when they get there, and that's fine. And so there will be onboard inverter chargers that can take that. They can generate the AC for all of your appliances from the batteries when you're away from the dock. And when you're plugged in, they can take that AC and charge your batteries. The first hull, the one that's being built right now, is just going to use standard 30 amp shore power cable. And that'll basically charge you up overnight. Options for the next hulls will be to upgrade that to a standard 50 amp and basically half that. That's a pretty easy upgrade to do.
Say a little bit more.
Yeah.
So all of that is on purpose, because the idea is to be able to use this boat the way people would cruise on a diesel trawler. And they like to go 7.5, 8 knots. So we optimized all of our systems for 7.5 knots. And with that, most people will go 4 hours a day underway. And you can do that for 4 to 5 days on our boat at 7 knots, 7.5 knots, and then stop overnight to charge. And you'll probably want to do that anyway to bring on provisions or check out somewhere cool. And pretty much anywhere you go, any marina is going to have a slip for a 34-foot boat with a 30-amp shore power. Yep. So the idea is that you can take this boat wherever you want to go, wherever you would go on a diesel. Obviously, when faster shore power chargers become more ubiquitous, then we can upgrade. But like, right now, we can do that and go anywhere. Yeah.
So I heard a question over here, like, are you creating a market for this? And I think what was just said between the two of you about how you can cruise it like you do any other boat in the Sound, and how you're usually only going 20 to 30 miles between islands anyways. Those are the points that should be hammered into people when pitching these boats, right? Because that creates, if you were reminded, you don't need the range anxiety because you can use it exactly the same way that you are using diesel trawler you already have, and it's more durable. Like, that's the market, right? Yeah.
You're hired.
Well, I think just like when you drive an electric car, as soon as you drive an electric car, you're not really going back. And I think when people get out on a boat like this, they'll be like, not to move. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. It is your show. So Boat to Grid is another really cool feature that we're working on, and vehicle to grid obviously is something you guys are all familiar with. It's the same things happening in the boat world just behind you. And so big names are talking about this right now. People like Volvo Penta are working on it. Aqua Superpower, I don't know if anybody has heard of them, but they're basically doing CCS automotive fast chargers, marinized for boats, and they're like one of the first and only people companies doing fast charging for recreational EV boats. And we need a lot more of them, so that the charger guy who's here do this. And I don't know, you figure out a big product now. But anyway, so using that power and making it be able to go both ways and support systems is something that's becoming talked about and hopefully will become commonplace. That last one, the UK actually just did, like the government of the UK just did a big demonstration with Aqua Superpower about taking, and so once again we're only going to have single phase 30 amp shore power. So that's the max we can push backwards also. It's not a huge impact, but very much a doable system today. We're using a very basic DC coupled solar system and essentially a smart inverter that can feed back to the grid when it's opportune.
So you're envisioning that when these boats are sitting in their moorage, that they'll be pumping power back on the grid?
That's the dream. The hardest part of that right now is the red tape.
So right now it's doing something all the time.
Yeah, that pay for that investment, right? And use less fossil fuels.
Well, it's different with cars. People tend to use their cars every day, but they say a third of the boats in Seattle never leave the dock.
Right. So that's the exciting part. If you can get a handful of these boats in a marina, well, then that marina starts to look. Well, that's going to be the next slide. I'll get there.
No, I think the real sell point is if the marina would give you a discount on your moorage. Because moorage is what kills you on boat ownership.
Right. So we'll just go to the next slide. So the cord is also another one of the problems. Having a smart cord that's inherently safe, that has like a high voltage interlock loop, like charged cables have, things like that. Marina and marine shore power cables haven't evolved since like 1950. And so there are companies working on better, this is bolt safe, but working on better, newer, smarter cables, and these will be a necessary part of the system to get through all the red tape, basically. From a technological standpoint, we're like 95% sure we can push some buttons and make it technically happen. So can we make all of the parties happy that that's happening and make it safe, fail safe no matter what? Like this is where the smarter cables.
How much work are you putting into handling oxidation problems? Because I was watching the documentary on them sending this electric train across the floating bridge, and they're in a total panic that these things are going to, the stray currents on these rails are going to kill their bridge connectors.
Interesting. So obviously, you know, most fires on boats have an electrical cause, and within that group, most of the electrical cause fires on boats are due to their shore power cable system.
I'm just talking about stray currents eating up your propeller. Oh,
right. Yeah. So
the circuit's all within.
Galvanic isolator.
Yeah.
Galvanic isolators basically going to solve the problem.
Brandon can talk to that.
Well, we're trying to minimize underwater metals, definitely dissimilar metals. So we'll just have a shaft and a prop that's metal. So we'll isolate that. But that's really Jacob's thing is grounding it properly and having things on there.
Yeah. I mean, in the marine world, this is a known issue with any boat that plugs in that has a high load, and just galvanic isolators or isolation transformers are the standard practice. And you know, for boat owners who don't choose to strategy vehicle to grid, and they don't plug in at all for this boat, like their boat is now an island, and that's not a problem. So if they choose to do the vehicle to grid, then just make sure there's a galvanic isolator. But yeah, so. The automotive world is really leading the charge on vehicle to load, vehicle to grid, and so as that continues to evolve, those lessons learned can roll into the boat space as well. And I think it was you that were saying when the marina starts seeing it as a profit maker, when they can start selling power back to the grid, or when they can start being able to sustain the grid of their marina, even when the overall grid has a power outage. That's really the selling points. But to get there, it's going to take a handful of these boats and a proven safe system, basically. So we're trying to take step number one in that process. A couple more just interesting things that we're doing on the boat. Those of you who drive EVs are really familiar with having a big screen with all the monitoring and controlling of everything in one central location. Boats are doing that now too. And we're going to do that on this boat with C-Zone products. So all of the AC and DC loads can be controlled and monitored from one screen or multiple of the same screens in different locations. This is going to be really nice, particularly because Alex wants to know where all of the power from his battery is going on this first hull, and this will give him all of that data and all of that tracking. And then another option that we're designing the boat to be able to do, we're not entirely sure if we're going to put it in hull number one or not, is installing a gyro stabilizer. So because this boat's going to be so lightweight, it is being built to handle 7-knot waves or 7-foot waves and 27-knot winds, but it might be uncomfortable in that state. And so having a gyro stabilizer to keep it nice and flat and stable would be really handy for those scenarios. But it also goes against the ethos of the boat a little bit in that we're adding another heavy component that takes power. And so the boat's being designed to take it. We're going to be doing some testing to figure out if we want it or just want to keep it as an option for number one. But yeah, that's
how much weight for how big a boat? I mean, what's the scale on something like that?
yeah, so this one says right here that it is 365 pounds. This is the smallest gyro stabilizer that Seakeeper makes. So this is for like a 25, 30-foot boat, which for the Towns 34 is the right size because it's ultra lightweight, basically. Thanks. Cool. That was a lot of info and a lot of questions. Do we have some more? We have one more at least.
Yeah. Hey, if you go at the start, if you, Alex, and Brendan say your companies and your roles for this project.
Sure. Jacob Landy. My company is Evergreen Marine, that I'm actually subcontracting to Revision Marine, who's the main electrical systems partner for this project. I'm going to be helping them install and design some of the electrical system.
I'm Alex. Solar Sal Boats is our company, and so we're commissioning this with Revision Marine and Brandon's company, which is?
It's Turn Point Design, and I'm building the boat, and I did the design for the boat too.
So Brandon's designed components and built components for 4 different America's Cup racing sailboats. So Brandon's super high tech with the composite stuff. And it's been so cool working with everyone on the design process, building something from the ground up to do what we're doing. It's been pretty darn fun.
Okay. We might be at our time limit.
Cool project.
A round of applause.
Yeah. As somebody who knows less about boats, how does it compare weight-wise and then also stability-wise? Like with electric cars, having all that extra weight in the usually low in the battery pack is really nice. I presume that would also be similar for the boat stability, but is that where you're putting the battery pack, is all down low?
Yeah, I mean, the boat is probably half the weight of a similar boat, and that's in a boat that's directly proportional to the drag and power to get to a speed. So you make a boat that weighs half as much and it's going to take half as much power. So there is this, to make this boat work, it's really about trying to make this a lightweight, nice, easily driven whole shape. So the entire boat is light, and then all the mechanical things are below the floor. So they're down low, down near the water. So but it is narrow. It's based off a 1920s boat, full shape, called the Lake Union Dreamboat, and those looked long and skinny because back then they had little tiny motors. That's all they could make is these little motors. And they're trying to push their boats to 7, 8, 9 knots. And so it's pretty neat that it's gone full circle. And with the electric boat, we have the same kind of demands. We want a little motor, a little power to push a boat to go higher speed, so it's neat. Like old technology is new. So we're just making it the same. It's really similar. It's just a lot lighter than those boats are.
The dream boats. Those were the boats that they used to run rum from Canada.
And then with an electric vehicle, it's easy to see how the regen works. I'm curious also, for an electric boat versus a normal internal combustion powered boat, is the propeller design different, or has there been experimenting with that as far as harnessing both regen and also, I don't know how normal boats, I guess they have a reverse for the transmission that turns the propeller the other way, so maybe that would be the same, but say anything about that?
So there's been a lot of R&D put into making regen better for especially sailing applications. And like I was saying earlier with Ocean Bolt, the most successful of that has been making a variable pitch propeller that when it's in regen, it can actually change the pitch of the tilt of the propeller to maximize the regen it's getting.
But you weren't planning on using that, right?
Yeah, I mean, for this application, it's a power boat. Regen doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Power boats go uphill all the time.
Right, yeah, it's like driving your EV up a hill all the time. You never really get to go downhill unless you have a bunch of sails on it.
So for this boat, we've done quite a lot of engineering for the propeller. And Brandon's optimized the propeller for the RPM of the motor and the speed of the boat and the drag of the boat to make the most efficient propeller we can, because you're asking the question, but it's a really good question, because with the right propeller, you can gain a whole lot of efficiency.
Propellers are like a hot button topic in the marine world.
How big is the prop on this boat?
22 inch.
That's
It's
a
a
big
3
wheel.
blade and it's really low blade area, so high aspect ratio blades. So it'll look different when you Skinny little blades.
Yeah, like a submarine.
Yeah, discount regen on a rope. You can always hitch up to a sailboat.
That's a feature. That's a feature.
You can tow charge it. Deploy a chute.
We just drive around in circles and we can do it.
Have you seen the propeller testing by RC Test Flight? Local guy on YouTube. He's done a lot of.
I have, yeah, that's really cool.
Okay.
3D prints all the little
CFD analysis and 3D tests.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, our first prop. I mean, a lot of cruising boats will cruise with a couple props in case you hit something you have to replace it. So our first prop will be fairly conservative, and then we'll push it in the second and third props. But it's usually on a new boat, you need 1, 2, or 3 props before you get it right, no matter what you do for the design. That'll be fun. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, there are just some wildly different designs in terms of the number of blades, the chord angle, length, ratio, pitch.
And then as far as the solid state battery goes, so are you, and I'm sorry if I missed it or anything too, but are these available to the public? And do you know what the cost is? And then also you mentioned that you have been using them in some other stuff. Can you talk about so far what you think of them and any reliability or other interesting issues? Also, do they have a BMS built inside them?
Yeah,
Or?
so these are all internally BMS batteries, so each module has its own BMS. And the brand is Solid State Marine. You can go to their website, they're available. Pricing's a hard question with tariffs, but their website has the current pricing.
Their list pricing is about $100 an amp hour.
Okay.
So they're pretty compatible with like Dakota Lithium or MG. They're a little under MG prices. And they are a new small company would be my overall impression on our projects so far. The technology seems to be what they claim it is based on our testing so far. We have 3 boats with them in them right now, happily running along. In 5 years, we'll tell you how their reliability is.
The sea rate is so low that they don't really have any other practical purpose besides something low power like yours.
Yeah, I think that's why they targeted the marine world probably. But yeah, they seem to be a good product so far. We have had some issues just dealing with a young company providing the product. So if anybody is buying a solid state battery, just take that extra time to make sure that what you get is per what you order for the programming, for the BMS and things like that.
So I think for your application, what's the advantage? Weight, I didn't hear that. So this versus the equivalent lithium-ion module, what's your advantage that you pay more for?
Right, so this is almost twice as energy dense as lithium iron phosphate. And
Specs on that module right there.
the specs on this one right here, it's 3.7 kilowatts.
Kilowatt hours.
Kilowatt hours at 24 volts. And so the 48 volt module is actually like a third more energy dense than this one right here.
So gravimetric, it was per module, it was something like 350 watt hours per kilogram.
Yeah, not quite that high.
250. Yeah. But anyway, it's still twice that of a LFP battery.
Right.
And the website's good.
You're saying it's twice as heavy as an LFP battery?
No, it's lighter than an LFP battery.
The same
It looked like, yeah, the...
Okay, so the LFP is about 130 or so.
The Dakotas are like 145 watt hours per kilogram, and this is like 225, I think, something like that.
No, so the other thing then, it's not NMC, or it is.
NMC.
But because they're doing the solid separated stuff, have you experimented on like doing destruction testing, or do they have videos? Okay, because that would be the other curious thing.
The videos on their website, which maybe a fool's errand, but it would be really fun to buy one and put a nail through it and verify it, but that's a large expense.
You could design the boat to just have a Bombay door.
There is actually a boat that was designed, I can't remember who was telling me recently, but they designed the battery pack to basically bolt to the transom with lead bolts. So if it had a thermal runaway, the lead bolts would melt and fall into the air.
Lead creeps and gets weaker with time.
And we actually just finished a project. There's a sailboat in Port Townsend that had Tesla battery modules with an EV-TV BMS in it. And we found when we opened it up recently that the Tesla modules that are in there, they're a wrecked Tesla, and then they're put into this boat, and 6 years later we open it up and look at it, and some of the cells had a bunch of corrosion, like
I bet.
electrolyte. I don't know what the cause, I assume discharge or overcharge or something. But anyway, so we took the Tesla modules out, it was a really cool design because they built stainless steel enclosures with a raw water flooding system. So if they did have a thermal event, they could hit a switch and totally flood the boxes with raw water, and it would overflow out of the boat and everything, because they're very worried about the thermal event those NMC Tesla batteries. And so we put solid-state marine batteries in, and we put 80 kilowatts in the same space where they had 60 kilowatt hours before. And there's a big reason for that is they don't have the big extra enclosures and plumbing to do the flooding.
Who'd have thunk we hit the day when people were saying, well, we replaced that Tesla battery pack with a bigger one in the same space. Yeah. But here we are.
Yeah. We did have to add some lead to the other side of the boat, though, because...
Well, thanks a lot. That was a really great presentation. And a reminder again that we'll be in Redmond next month, so keep tabs on that. And then now I say let's go take a look at Tim's boat over here, where we can see in a real boat. And then otherwise you can, a real boat right in front of you, that we have right here in front of us. A three-dimensional boat, I should say. That's pretty rad. Very interesting.
Thanks for letting us come.
Dude, that was you were right. Very technical and good. Like, awesome. We get.
What's an NMC?
That is nickel manganese cobalt. So it's the specific lithium chemistry. And there's also like NCA and LFP is lithium iron phosphate, LTO. There's a bunch of different.
And there's a bunch of categories.
Yeah.
So similar chemistry, just a different makeup, and so hence the higher is optimized for energy density.
Yeah, I would really. Have you opened any of them?
Yeah, actually. That might be the one we had open, actually.
And I'm really curious how much of it is marketing versus. So, like, I'm trying to gauge lifting it myself and thinking about, like, Calbs or Thunder Sky 160s that I would have.
Request for a photo.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you, I have the Dakota lithium version that's the same energy density in that same space, and it's 20 pounds heavier.
Ah, okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, Brandon. Where's... Oh.
I'll bring your key back. I'll be right back.
A group picture here.
I almost never go over 1C in my car, so I could run.
Yeah.
We could have everyone up at Port Townsend. We can do it Port Townsend.
Let's go live here.
Picture of the third floor.
Do separation.
Stephen, did you get they leave their PowerPoint with you by any chance?
No. Are we able to get the PowerPoint for the minutes or stuff and some of the pictures?
Sharing it with him?
Yeah.
I'm on his.
Oh, I can get it from there. Okay.
I have it on a thumb drive.
Okay, let's put it on the SeaTleEVA laptop then.
Solar.
Thanks for your presentation.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's really interesting too. The basalt.
Oh, the basalt is really
stuff.
There's a whole story like.
How conductive is it?
It's non-conductive.
Okay, so it's like fiberglass in that regard.
Carbon fiber is like I mostly make things out of carbon
Yeah.
fiber, and it's always a pain on the
Yeah, yeah.
because you have carbon fiber and then you throw in some metals and then you throw in salt water and you have a battery.
Yeah.
And so the aluminum will just completely turn to powder. So there's some of the old America stuff that had carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb core. And they had like literally like I think it was 120 days they could be in the water.
Wow.
And they would disappear. The inside would just fall apart. Be like powdery.
Yeah.
So it's
Huh.
crazy. Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Huh.
This is cool. So how far do you guys go for your meetings?
Well,
Is it usually in Seattle? Or is it?
Usually, but we're open. Where are you located?
Oh, we're in Port Townsend.
Oh, yeah,
And
okay.
Revision Marine is there too. But there's
Yeah.
quite a few like electric boats. There's quite a few electric cars. I mean, Port Townsend is
Interesting.
pretty like.
Our now mostly retired pioneer Roderick Wilde had his EVparts.com.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. A long time ago.
Did he always come to the events, or is he?
He preferred to be a guest celebrity from time to time, not always.
Yeah, is that shut down now? Is it?
Yeah,
I think
the
finally,
business
yeah.
folded. He married a Croatian princess, divides his time, and when he's in the U.S., he's more often in Arizona.
Working on the Historic Electric Vehicle Foundation. There's a museum on Route 66 for old electric vehicles.
Oh, cool. I just saw one down in Tacoma. Like there's a 1909 electric horseless buggy.
And even more
No steering wheel. It had a
tiller? Yeah.
And even more of them at the original LeMay Museum in Spanaway. It's got at least 5 times the number of cars. Yeah.
Is it open to the public?
It's called Marymount. It's open to the public. Yeah. Harold LeMay gave the lowest bid when the sisters closed down the cruise boarding school. But he said, I will not only preserve all the buildings, but all the iconography as well. And the chapel will become our family chapel. They took the bid.
Oh, cool. That's
And
really cool.
that chapel is open for the first time ever. They finally finished their restoration and opened it, and you could have a wedding in there. You in particular should have a wedding.
Sounds good.
See, that has a number of confirmed